Welcome back to the Five Reasons YouTube channel. I'm Alex Toledo here with my man Brady Hawk. We just finished watching the Heat win 101-99, versus the New Orleans Pelicans. Of course, preseason game, but we did get to see a good bit of the starting lineup that we literally did not get to see a minute of last season with Terry, Tyler, Nikola Jovic, of course, the one that we were all kind of expecting to see early on. Jaime and Tyler, along with Josh Richardson, were out during the scrimmage and the first preseason game. We finally got to see it today. Honestly, I was pretty encouraged by what I saw with the offensive process. It felt like there was a little bit of an emphasis to get paint touches, to keep the ball moving. I thought Terry and Tyler were really feeling themselves as far as, getting into their game, making a good amount of shots, and they were efficient. I thought they did their job pretty well. And defensively, the active hands, man, like they got a lot of steals. They really killed the Pelicans in points off turnovers, and that was before any of like the second and third units that came in later on in the second half. So like the main guys that you're expecting to see during the season, I thought really showed like some of the vision of what they want to be able to achieve together. Brady, what were your thoughts on what we did get to see? You could take it wherever you want. If you want to talk about the starters or if you want to talk about a specific player, what were a couple of your big takeaways?
I think we have to talk about the starters. I mean, that's what this ultimately all is about. The fact that they haven't played any minutes here, and we finally get to see them together. You hit on it. I've kind of been of the thought that we would see less pick and roll with this starting lineup, and it's going to be more motion. And we kind of saw like a version of that. And it's not one specific guy, and I think that's the key to all of this. Is there's not like a number one option or this guy has to play this role in the starting lineup. They're in a position now where they just want to run a whole bunch of motion and back screening and all that stuff to either have a guy fly off a pin down into a three, or have a guy that's two defenders overreact to the three, and it's a back cut for Jimmy, which is kind of the opening play. But I think the key is that any of them can play make for it. So we specifically Jovic, I think, is kind of the key guy for that lineup. Is kind of he was throwing passes backdoor all over the place, but we saw Bam do it, we saw Jimmy do it, we saw all of them do it at certain points. That I think there's going to be an emphasis that it's just about finding the open guy. It's not about a certain guy getting a certain amount of shots up or anything like that. The other thing that stuck out to me, I made up the random thing during training camp that I thought Tyler like changed his shot up a little bit because I was like, I don't know if it's just a video or not. It wasn't a video. Like he legitimately changed up his shot to make it quicker. Like his base is a lot tighter. Asked Spo about it after the game. He was talking about how it's a quicker release, and it's the fact that he can shoot the old way still. Like if it's a standstill three, he could get into that rhythm. But the key is that now it allows for if there's a closer, a closeout, or if there's a closer defender, he can get it off in a shorter amount of time. So I think that's just important in itself. Like that changes an aspect for him if he's going to be more higher volume off the ball player. And the second unit I think was interesting to all of us just because we wanted to see who the other people were. It was Jaime, it was Duncan, it was Haywood, it was Love. That's kind of what we all expected. But Drew Smith being the fifth guy, I think, was interesting. I mean, Drew Smith's a pretty polarizing player around here, but he did his job. I mean, he set up the offense. It's kind of what we expected. He's a high floor guy. You know what you're going to get defensively. I thought he really got after it. The key to all this, though, Spo always gets back to 9-man rotations. It's ultimately what he does, and they're going to stagger. It's not going to be like how it was in this game where it's a 5-man starting lineup and a 5-man bench unit. They're going to stagger and do all this stuff. So that's kind of the key to all this. It's not going to look exactly like this, but the key right now is to build the rhythm with that starting lineup, and it feels like they did that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and you were definitely dead on when it comes to the Tyler stuff. When it comes to his form, like I think he can just get it off in quicker windows now, like you mentioned, and it's just a situational thing. Like as somebody as skilled a shooter, as prolific a shooter as him, who hits it at such a high rate, at high volume, like adding that to his bag and just making it a more consistent part of kind of his shooting bag, I think it's going to help, especially when you want him to play off the move, off the ball a little bit more often this season. It's interesting you mentioned the 10-man rotation thing, and I agree that's probably the most likely scenario when it comes to the regular season is they stagger a little bit more, maybe play 9, maybe some nights they'll play 10. I think this roster is one that they absolutely can play 10. It was definitely interesting to see Drew be that 10th guy, although of course Burks was not out there tonight, was kind of in street clothes, and Larson came on later on in the game. Of course, you have like the former first-round picks and Nas Little and Josh Christopher trying to get their spot. So there's a lot of different ways that they could potentially go, although it feels like Drew has a little bit of a head start on it, right? They like him a lot. He played a great game defensively, and just kind of, I think, fit in really well. Even though he had a couple of tough moments early on, fit in really well with what they wanted to do defensively. And I thought they honestly was a pretty strong game from both ends of the floor. Even though they only scored 101 points, they, I think, shot like 24% from three, and that wasn't just a second half thing or anything. Like they did not shoot the three well today. They were creating good looks, and I think that's where some of the optimism comes from. It's not that they're a great offensive team now, but I think some of what you saw with the process, especially with like your core guys, was pretty encouraging. And I think specifically seeing the guys that were hurt towards the end of last season and through the summer playing pretty well and looking like moving well, like Jimmy jumping, and it just seems like guys have fresh legs. I think there was a good amount of effort, right? And you're seeing a commitment to doing the right thing and trying to get back to the right path. Because I really don't think they want to do this whole play and stuff again. So, they're leaning offense finally. But in all seriousness, we're gonna wrap this up here. Make sure to check out the Five on the Floor episode that comes out later tonight, and of course, check us out on Playback. We've been doing the games there. We're gonna continue that early on this season. Check out the Discord and the link. The link is in the description to all of our videos and pods that have to do with Five on the Floor. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to wrap it up and get out of here.